Use your sixth sense to supersize and grow your business. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. And our idiom for today is sixth sense. Now, this idiom's been around since the 1800s, and it was actually used in ghost stories. It was really popular in ghost stories to consider that we have a sense beyond, or like in a paranormal ghost type situation, we have a sense that is not, sight, sound, smell, taste, or touch. We have something other than our five senses that we can tap into as human beings to help us to know and make decisions and choices. Well, Inc. magazine, and gosh, I think 2007, November 22nd of 2007, wrote an article about our inner voice being the most powerful yet least used tool when it comes to building and growing our businesses. And ever since, and I actually read that article a long time ago, back when I read Inc. magazine, and I remembered that, and I got to really curious about our inner voice and intuition, our conscience, our guide, our line in the sand, there's lots of different names for it. But I did a little research and found out, there's different ways and different things of describing that inner voice, that intuition. And some sources say, yes, your intuition and your inner voice are the same things. Others say they aren't the same thing. They're slightly different. Some bring the ego into the discussion where, our ego assigns meaning to absolutely everything. And so is that part of our inner voice, or is it more tied to our identity? So, we can dig into topics and get really confused, or we can pick what we need to learn from different things and ask ourselves, how can I use this in a way that helps me to better build and grow my business? So there's three different types of conscious, according to one source, or three different types of inner voices, which I thought was pretty interesting because they're all super negative. The voice of judgment, the voice of cynicism, and the voice of fear. Yikes. I hope that's not my only inner voices. I hope I have better inner voices than that. And our inner voice makes up stories about things. And although our egos make up stories about things and what they mean, our inner voice is that guiding light. It's kind of, mine I think is tied to my core values, and it reminds me when I am or am not being in alignment or making choices that line up with what is true for me and true to me. And I think that's really important. So let's talk about 7 ways. Let's make it practical. 7 different ways that we can improve or better listen to our inner voice. I found a list of these on the internet. I thought it's a little esoteric list, but it's still a good list because we can use some or all of the tips to help us tap into our inner voice, our sixth sense, so to speak. So the first thing says, create space for your inner voice. Make it, room for it to come in. In other words, decide to listen to your inner voice, or try to, if you've never tapped into it before. Number 2, pay attention to your emotions, because what we're thinking about, what we're feeling has an impact on what we will even allow ourselves to hear. Number 3, look for your inner voice patterns. We all have different patterns. We all have different things that trigger our inner voice. Maybe you have things that trigger your inner voice of fear, or your inner voice of confusion, or your inner voice of whatever emotion is tied to that. I think that we all have patterns that are triggered by different things, different past experiences, different things that our other 5 senses experience that can set off whether we are fearful, conscious, or any of the other emotions that we feel. Number 4, set the intention to tune into your inner voice. You got to decide that you want to listen to what's going on in your head. This might be my favorite one. Don't let your mind take over. Number 5, because it's when our mind and our brain and our conscience starts to take over and squash down our inner voice and our intuition that we don't listen to it. I often say, whenever I'm going to make a choice or a decision, and this I learned the hard way over making lots and lots of mistakes in my life, all 3 parts of me, my head, my heart, and my intuition, all have to say yes to something before I say yes to it anymore. Why? Because whenever I make a decision that doesn't honor my gut instinct or my intuition or my inner voice, what it's telling me, and I squash it down with facts and what I think is the truth, every single time I've done that and ignored my intuition, I have found myself in a pretty bad situation. Number 6, take a moment to pause and breathe. Interesting. I think I talk a lot about how it's important to take a break and meditate and pause and have time to not only think and plan, but also tap into that inner knowing, that intuition. And finally, number 7, talk to your confusion. I think that when we start to feel confused or conflicted about things, say, we really got our heart set on a project or something, and the facts and the things seem to line up, but we got just this niggling feeling that says, something's off here, something's not right. Maybe it's the timing. Maybe it's the people that we're partnering with. It could be anything. Maybe it's the economy. Who knows? But if something is telling us it doesn't feel right, and we're a little confused and torn by that, we need to pause and really figure out what's going on, not just move forward without thinking about it. At least that's been my experience. Love to know, do you tap into your inner voice? Do you feel like you have a sixth sense that helps you in your businesses? Share your experiences in the comments below. And I will, of course, be with you tomorrow with another interesting idiom. What does it mean? Where does it come from? And how can you use it to build and grow and supersize your business? And I guess if Inc. magazine way back in 2007 did an article saying this is our secret but most powerful and least used business strategy, why aren't more of us tapping into it? All right, have a great day. I'll, of course, be with you tomorrow.